Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the first in a multi-part series on how to write a simple story. At the end of each odd number part, we will read the refined work for that chapter. Hopefully, once we finish the series, we will have a decent beginning of a fantasy novel. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Hit the notification bell to know when I release new content. Okay, today we're going to build the skeleton of a fantasy novel together. We're not writing the whole book today. We're not trying to make it perfect. We're just trying to build the hook of the story and shape it into something that might become a real novel. Check out my last video here for more reference on writing your first book. So by the end of this video, we should have a working opening chapter for a fantasy book, but we won't have all the details you need when writing the whole book. I just want to start off with the basics, and the opening chapter won't have the villain in it.
Super villain.
And to make this feel more like an actual writing session, I'm going to make some choices live as we go. Names, colors, weapons, little details, things like that. Because when you are building a story, not every choice has to come from some ancient prophecy in your brain. Sometimes you can just pick something that sounds cool, and then you can build meaning around it later. Okay, so we need a hero, we need a love interest, we need a secret, we need danger, and because this is fantasy, we absolutely need some kind of ancient thing that everyone should probably want. Today we're going to be building that story around a man named Lothar.
I would feel better if Lothar were riding with us.
Okay, so Lothar is the last heir of an old bloodline. Somewhere in his possession, or hidden somewhere only he knows, is a piece of his family's essence. It is not a soul exactly, but is connected to his family's memory, blood, maybe divine potential. If he ever chooses to claim it, the essence could allow him to ascend into something more than mortal. Now, this is where the choice can be an interesting one. We don't know how he will choose it right away, just his initial intentions. So for the sake of this exercise, Lothar does not want that. He wants peace. He wants to be left alone. He wants to live away from the wars, kingdoms, and the events that destroyed his family. So naturally, we're going to ruin that for him, because that is writing after all. And because every fantasy story is better with an animal companion, we need to give him a friend. Not a dragon. Dragons are great.
The dragons are my children.
They get all the attention these days. Today, we are going with a wolf.
Wolfpack! Form of Wolfbridge.
Plus, they have better personalities than dragons anyways. So let's start with the main idea. A man named Lothar has hidden the last piece of his family's divine essence, and a villain wants it. A beautiful cleric named Thalleia enters Lothar's life, and Lothar has a wolf he raised from a pup, who immediately does not trust her. That gives us a real strong emotional triangle. Not a romantic triangle, a trust triangle. Lothar wants to believe in Thalleia. The wolf does not. And the audience should be sitting here thinking, listen to the wolf, man. The wolf knows. Now, we are not going to reveal too much about Thalleia too early. That is important because in a romance, and especially in a betrayal story, the first meeting matters. The connection has to feel real. If we tell the audience immediately that she is dangerous, then we lose some of that emotional uncertainty. So for now, Thalleia is a mystery. She is beautiful, powerful, and kind. Maybe too kind to the reader, but not to Lothar. She says she is a cleric of the natural order. She says she does not worship a god, but the living world itself. Trees, rain, soil, rivers, roots, storms, wild things. That sounds peaceful, but we are going to leave a little shadow around her. Not enough to spoil the truth, just enough to make the audience wonder. Okay, now let's build Lothar. His family guarded the essence that could someday turn one of the bloodline into a deity, if that person chose to accept it. But Lothar has no interest in becoming divine. That already tells us a lot about him. He's not hungry for power. He's not trying to conquer anything. He's trying to disappear. Maybe he lives in an old stone house near a vast forest. Maybe the house belonged to his family before everything fell apart. Maybe half of it is crumbling. Maybe one tower is collapsed. Maybe he only uses 3 rooms because the rest of the place is too full of ghosts. So now we need some random details to make him feel like a real character. We're going to be going back and forth between the camera and the monitor now. So our first random choice is going to be Lothar's hair. Let's pick from white, black, dark brown, ash gray, silver blonde, or auburn. Okay, so we'll take a 6-sided dice and we'll roll it. That is a number 5, so that is silver blonde. Silver blonde it is. Okay, so now we're going to choose his eye color. So let's choose amber, blue gray, dark green, gold, and brown, and let's go with orange. Okay, and we're going to choose another. Just excited. All right, gold. Alrighty, so he's got silver blonde hair and gold eyes it is. Okay, it's an interesting choice, and we'll start there.
Choose your blade.
Okay, now to his weapon. Fantasy weapons are important because they tell us something about the character. A sword can feel noble, an axe can feel brutal and practical, a spear can feel ancient. A bow is usually lonely and a patient kind of a weapon. So let's choose Lothar's weapon. Let's start with a curved blade, samurai sword, axe, a spear. Let's go back with a bow, and then a two-handed greatsword.
Sword, 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 sword.
Okay, so we're gonna roll again. 1 curved blade. Okay, I was honestly hoping for the samurai sword, but we'll stay with curved blade. So that's a cool choice. We'll name it later. Let's not. I was thinking like log splitter or crescent moon or something, but I do actually like crescent moon. Let's go ahead and name it then. Crescent's bite. How's that work for you? We can always change it later. That's the whole point of doing a draft. So now that he has a look and a weapon, now let's do a little bit of what the wolf is. So let's give him the wolf. I don't want the wolf to be comic relief. I want the wolf to matter. So we aren't going to write about their history in the opening chapter. But here's a short summary. Lothar found this wolf as a pup, half frozen after the pack was killed by the king's hunters. He took him in, fed him, slept beside him through winter nights, and raised him. Okay, so this wolf is not just a pet. The wolf is Lothar's family. So he's going to know Lothar's moods, going to know when he's angry, when he's afraid, when he's lying to himself. So now we need to name the wolf. Let's call him something simple. Let's see here. Let's do Sable, Ben, Rook, and Dusk. That's fine. 4-sided dice. Okay, 4, it's Dusk. Okay, so we're going to write that down. Okay, cool. Now, the wolf does not trust Thalleia, not from the first moment. That does not mean the wolf attacks her immediately. That would be too obvious. Instead, we're going to make it subtle. The wolf refuses to eat from her hand. Maybe the wolf watches her when everyone else sleeps. The wolf will stand between her and Lothar when she gets too close. He's going to ignore the warning signs. Now we're going to move to Thalleia, choosing some of her attributes. We're not going to go deep into her history yet or anything. We're just going to get her description. So let's go to her hair. Let's go the obvious ones: black, red, blonde, brown, silver, or something colored. Let's do like a black with green highlights. Just something different. 6-sided dice. Okay. Blonde. Okay. A 3 is blonde. Okay. Boring, but blonde it is. All right. Now we're going to go for her eyes. Let's go with violet, hazel, blue, silver, gold, and green. Okay. So 6-sided again. It's silver. Okay. We're not getting a lot of choices here that are like very strictly unique, but silver, blonde, and stuff like that is pretty traditional fare for fantasy books. So that's where we'll start. So let's start the first meeting. Okay, so this is where it starts getting fun. We are going to start with the framework from the introduction scene. This matters a lot, as in potential fantasy love stories, the first meeting isn't just getting coffee at a bar. There needs to be an event that connects them together. Now, so we're going to do some random encounters again. let's do rescue on the road. Found on path near Lothar's home. Invitation from the king to attend the ceremony, or just something as simple as knocking on the door. All right, so we're going to do a 4-sided dice on this one. And it's a 2. 2 is I found on a path near Lothar's home. Okay. All right. So this is the moment the reader decides whether they want these people together. And remember, the reader won't know it's a betrayal story yet. The first meeting becomes even more important because later, if everything falls apart, we remember how it began. So let's build their first meeting carefully. Lothar is returning from the forest near sunset. Let's say he was checking the perimeter boundary stones around his land because he found signs that something had crossed into the woods. He tracked it for days, but its signs simply vanished. Even Dusk couldn't find the track anymore. So we're going to start writing. Again, this is in the aggregate. This is not finalized manuscript writing. The sky is turning dark. Rain clouds on the horizon. And Dusk is restless because of thunder. Okay. Dusk turns and sniffs the air. And Lothar turns and hears something that seems to be following the currents of the storm. Okay. It's faint, almost hidden in the background by the natural world, but it had rhythm. It was soft. Okay. Singing. Okay. Singing, a woman's voice somewhere among the trees. Lothar got up and immediately grabbed the handle of Crescent Spite and moved out. Hood up, cloak blowing behind him. Dusk is following on the flank as he was taught and raised, basically in a wide arc. He learned this as a young pup. Again, we'll get to all that when we write the regular manuscript out. As the singing got louder, he noticed it wasn't singing at all. There was a light, a golden light, a soft and yellow light. Lothar froze for a moment as he watched her. A blue hooded cloak covered her as she knelt next to a deer, one shot by an arrow. She pulled it out and was healing it with her voice. Some kind of magical energy from her hands. Lothar walked up behind her, slowly, and just watched until she was finished. The deer got up and bounded away in the opposite direction. She stayed on her knees for a moment before saying out loud, "If you're here to rob me, I promise all I have is herbs and unguents." She stood slowly and turned, removing her hood at the same time, revealing braided golden blonde hair. Her boring silver eyes froze on Lothar's for a few moments. The distant rumbling of thunder and drizzle of rain through the leaves disappeared as all Lothar could hear through her smile was the name Thalleia. All right. So that is a short framework. And as I extend this to an actual chapter next week, I'll add some extended time frame, 2 or 3 days, possibly. While Lothar and Dusk were walking the boundary stones of the land. Of course, I'm a detailed writer, so I'll explain over pieces about mosses and ferns and pines and roots and in the ground and stuff like that. I get very detailed. But we'll get to the actual chapter read in part 2. Okay, so the initial meeting happened. We aren't going to extend that today, as that's not what part 1 is meant for. But it shows you one thing. You want to know more. That's the point. Now you see in this very early draft how different it would have been if we added violence, or if her healing didn't help the deer, and Lothar had to kill the deer with mercy. Lothar finds a beautiful woman alone in the dark woods, vulnerable, frightened, or appearing frightened, and in danger. And kind. A very important emotional moment of her healing the wounded deer.
Nasty kind or the regular kind?
That instantly hits his protective instincts. It also makes any future betrayal stronger because the first thing she gives him is not romance, it is a chance to be noble. Now, as writers, we know she needs secrets, but in the story itself, we should not reveal those secrets too early. We let the reader feel 2 things at once. They want Lothar to trust her, and they're afraid he should not. That is the sweet spot. So this is going to end part 1. We have a solid beginning. Now in part 2, we'll read a true full draft of chapter 1. Now I'll leave you with this quote from C.S. Lewis. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. See you in part 2 as we expand this framework. Thanks for watching.